Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. In this video I'm going to walk you through Predictable, just sharing my screen and walking through everything step by step. So this is the first screen of the onboarding screens, so this is what you'll first see when you create an account for the first time and log in. So on this screen you can choose what language you would like to use Predictable in. So there's 43 languages available, but each functions a little bit differently. So we have a group of core languages which are available offline. So they have offline word prediction, offline voices available, and all of the navigation text is fully translated in the settings. And then for the rest of the languages, the word prediction is online, and for a few there are only online voices available. For those, we have a handy chart on our website which helps you to identify which is which for each language, so worth having a look there if you're still not sure.
Welcome.
The onboarding screens are narrated by an avatar, so I will be pausing her as I go through because we can't talk at the same time.
First,
the first screen of the onboarding screens is to choose your default voice. So there are a lot more to choose from in settings, but this is just to get you set up as quick as possible. Next, you're able to choose your home screen. So if you think you're more likely to use the keyboard 90% of the time and maybe just flick across to the grid, then choose the keyboard as your home screen. Alternatively, choose the grid if that's where you're going to spend most time. You can use both at the same time and switch between them very easily. So this is just the screen that you want Predictable to open at so that it's most convenient.
Next,
the access methods. So again, there are more available in settings, and there are more smaller changes that you can make for each of them in settings. But these are sort of the basic main ones. I'll talk through these all in a bit more detail in settings, but none of these will take effect until you've completed the onboarding journey, so it won't start just head tracking on the next screen.
We offer
a variety of templates, so this is to structure your keyboard or grid screen, but here are most of our most popular ones that you can choose from for a quick, easy setup. So standard is our default offering. Dark is exactly the same, but the visual is just dark mode. So that's just a preference thing on what you would rather be looking at. Getting started has less keys on screen, so you can do a little bit less on the main keyboard screen. So this is good for people who are just getting started, maybe not that familiar with technology. So it's a little bit less overwhelming. You can always make changes later and add in those things that we've removed to make it simpler, so you can build it up step by step. Symbol prediction, so that automatically turns on the symbols in the word prediction strip. So again, you can turn that on individually in settings, but this is just to make it easier for setup. The same with grid 2x2 and 5x4. So this is just the layout for the grids. So you can change those again much more in settings. This screen just shows a load of our favourite Predictable features. So a lot of these were new for Predictable 7, so we just wanted to make sure that people knew what was possible. I won't talk through these now. I'll talk through them all in detail as we go through the settings and the screens.
That's it.
The final onboarding screen shows the Predictable in 5 minutes video. This is a really good one for just a quick introduction for people or a quick refresher. It only goes through the very basics of Predictable, but it's useful just to get your head around it. So much less detail than this video will be. From here, you can choose to go straight to settings to continue your setup. You can book in for a free training session with a member of our team, so that's a one-to-one training session. We can cover any setup in more detail, any questions you might have, or any support issues as well. So if you're having issues, you can email us or you can book in for a training and we can talk you through it on the call. Or if you click finish, you'll just be taken to the home screen that you selected.
You are all.
So this is the main keyboard screen. I'll talk through each part of the keyboard screen so that you can get to know how to do everything. So the top left is the history strip in Peach. So once you've spoken something out, it will appear in the history strip for you to repeat yourself. So I'll show that now. So if I start typing using the keyboard and the word prediction, and then I speak this out,
we are talking.
You can see that it then appears in the history strip. If I then press it,
we are talking,
I can repeat myself really easily. So that's a nice feature, making it easier to repeat without having to type in the same message over and over again. The blue strip on the top right corner is the favorite strip. So this is pre-populated with a load of commonly used words and phrases, but this can be completely customized within the grid. So you can choose anything that you would like to be quick access here. The main blank area is the message window. So this is where your message will be crafted using your phrases, your keyboard, the word prediction. So that will show in the message window. The blue strip across the center is the word prediction. So you can see that updating as I was typing. The keyboard is quite obviously there, works the same as any other keyboard that you will have used. And then the yellow buttons are the feature keys. So the bright yellow button is the speak button. So this will speak out any text that you have in the message window. All of the others are completely customizable. So you can choose whichever functions are most useful for you to be here. These are just our defaults. So one of the defaults is the feature key keyboard, which allows you access to all of the feature keys that we have available. So I'll talk you through using this, but later on I'll show you how to switch out those feature keys for something that you might use a little bit more. So the copy and paste buttons perform the standard copy and paste functions, but in case you're not able to have the accuracy to press on the cursor, you can do this via buttons. So it just makes it a little bit more accessible if you're using an access method which doesn't have that cursor control, or if you just don't have the accuracy to tap it. Notes is one of our default feature keys. So if you tap it, you get brought into Notes view. So if I press the blue button, I can save what I have as in my message window as a note, and I can also transition back into other notes. So I could store longer form pieces of content here. If I'm if I'm in the middle of a conversation and I need to switch, but I was in the middle of writing quite a long message, I can save that here and then come back to it easily. There's lots of functions of how you could use it. This expand button, especially if you're using it for longer form pieces of text, this allows you to read that all on one screen, as the message window can be a bit small. From this screen, you can also add a title so that the preview of the note at the top of the screen is more helpful. And you can also share it outside of the app and speak it. To get out of notes, you just tap the same feature key and it will toggle it off. The undo button will undo the last performed action in the message window. Delete last word will delete the last word that you've entered, and delete all will completely clear your message window. So those two are also defaults that we have set up. If I type a short message in the message window and then press add phrase to grid, this will automatically save whatever I have in the message window as a phrase in my grid. So you can see here that the first option here is a phrase that says we have to be able to, which was what I had in my message window. So that's quite nice to easily add things if you want to use them again later. The add pause button allows you to add a pause within your text. So especially with sounded voices, which sometimes don't sound quite as natural, this can be nice if you want to create some emphasis, if it sounds a bit unnatural, if you're writing a speech, if you're telling a joke, things like that are nice to be able to add some pauses into that text. So you press it to add the pause, and if you press again, it will increase that pause length up to 5 seconds. So the number next to it is the number of seconds that it will pause for. Then you can just continue to write your text, and when you press speak,
we have to be able to. To the other day.
You can see that it pauses for that duration that you've added in. Next is the handwriting keyboard. So this is if you would rather draw the letters on screen with your fingers rather than type. So this is one of our online features, so you do have to be online to be able to use it. Multi-language, I'll talk through in a bit more detail later, but this allows you to choose 2 languages to switch between. So directly on the keyboard screen, you can switch the keyboard and the voice over to another language. So if you're bilingual, this can be a really nice feature for an easy switch between. The translate button will translate whatever is in your message window into your language of choice and speak it out. So this uses Google Translate. I will just give a quick example now. So if I pick, say, Spanish, I can choose the voice that I want it to be spoken out in. And then if I just press the translate button,
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
It will translate whatever I had in the message window and speak it out. To clear the message window back to normal, I can just press the delete. ChatGPT works much the same. So if I ask it for a short, if I ask it to write a short poem, and then I press on ChatGPT,
In the stillness of the night.
it will give whatever the ChatGPT response would normally be. And it will start to speak it out, but you can press on that button to pause it so that it doesn't speak it out if you would rather that not happen. So you can ask anything of ChatGPT in Predictable as you would of ChatGPT outside the app. So it's nice to be able to use that in a more accessible mode in case you use a different access method like head tracking, or just so that you can have it conveniently available and you don't have to switch out of the app. Home Assistant, so this is to use Predictable alongside maybe an Alexa, so you can program in your wake phrase for your Home Assistant, and then when you press this Home Assistant button, it will speak out whatever you have in the message window, but it will be preceded by that wake phrase and then a certain amount of pause so that it can wake up the Home Assistant before you ask your request. So that can be nice if you use it to set timers or, I don't know, control anything around the house. Draw mode, so this allows you to draw an image on screen. So if I draw a smiley face, you can pick different colours to use. You can flip it around to show someone, and you can also save it. So that allows you to choose it from your Predictable image library, so you could use it for a phrase or category icon if you would like. The next one is system info. So this isn't the most exciting one, but in case you're not able to reach and use the physical volume up and down buttons on your device, this can be a nice way to do it within the app. And also because Predictable hides a lot of that important information at the top bar of your iPad, here you can check on something like the time, the battery percentage, the date, and then also control your volume. So it's a handy one to have. The speak button obviously speaks out whatever text that you have in the message window. There's a load of edits that you can do to it, so I'll explain that once I'm in the speech section of settings. The bell feature key will play a bell sound, so this is useful if you want to get someone's attention, if you're in a loud room, or something like that. Privacy mode, so this will turn off your learning, your history will stop saving, and it will turn off all online features. So in case you're saying something that you don't want to be recorded anywhere, or in case you just want to keep that on all the time because you're someone that really cares about that kind of privacy, that's an option for you to use. Call and FaceTime, so this button allows you to use your Predictable voice to call over a call or a FaceTime. So you can set up a contact list in settings and then call them from within Predictable. So your voice will come out of the receiver speakers, so it'll be very clear, not muffled. It's a really nice feature. Floor hold, so this will cycle through a preset list of messages that you've set up. So things like, please bear with me while I use Predictable to speak. It might take me a bit longer to craft my message. Please bear with me. So in case you're talking to someone who perhaps isn't used to speaking to someone using AAC, or you're writing a particularly long message, you can press this button instead of having to write please bear with me and then your message. You can just press floor hold. It will let people know to give you some time, take the pressure off a little bit, and you can continue crafting your original response. So that's quite a nice feature. I'll talk you through it in settings later, but you can also set up an automatic function of floor hold, where after a certain number of seconds typing, it will automatically play out one of those phrases. The share button will share out the text that you have in your message window to anything across the iPad or your Android device if that's what you're using it on. Dual message window. So this will split the message window into two and flip the top one. So in case you're having a discussion that you want to be a bit more private, so you don't want to speak it out, but you'd like them to be able to see what you're writing in real time, this can be quite nice. There's a variety of applications, so it's quite a nice option to know that it's there. Show is quite similar. So in case it's too loud for you to speak the response out, or again, if you don't want to blast it for everyone to hear, you can show it large on screen and inverted so that someone can read it looking over at your iPad. You can also flip this around. There's also a bell available on this screen, so you can use that to get some more attention. You can also go to grid view. I'll talk you through that after this. And then the bottom line is mostly accessibility related feature keys. So screen tap and switch access will flip you back into those access methods. Dwell up, dwell down will increase or decrease the dwell time for your head tracking. So that's only applicable if you have head tracking on. The head tracking on button. So this allows you to switch seamlessly between the iOS global head tracking and Predictable's head tracking. So in case you're coming from outside of the app, you can use that to switch over quite easily. Settings will obviously take you to settings, and the emoji button takes you to the emoji keyboard so that you can use these in your text. So these you can assign sounds for, some of them automatically assign sounds by us. So it can be a fun way to add something fun to your message. So that's all of the feature keys. Next, I'll talk you through the grid screen. So in much the same way, the light blue strip at the top is the message window, so anything that you add in from phrases will be added there. The speak button is available in bright yellow, and then settings and the delete all, so that will completely clear your message window. So the cells with the thicker top bar are your categories, and the cells without that are your phrases. So you can have phrases and categories at any level, so you can have subcategory inside subcategory inside subcategory. So it's really customizable however you would like to use it. This is our default grid, but you can choose to start from scratch, and you can edit it as much as or as little as you would like. So to edit it, you press on the pencil icon. And here, if you tap on an existing category, you can edit the content. If you tap on an existing phrase, you can edit the content, or you can press add category or add phrase to create new content. So for categories, you're able to add category labels. You can choose to add an image. So this will bring up our larger image picker. So you can take a photo and assign that. You can pick from your device photos. You can use that draw mode that I showed you earlier to draw an icon that you would like to use. You can also do a web search for images to include, or otherwise there is our predictable set of symbols fully included, and also Tavasol symbols are offered. So these are open source Arabic symbols that are available to select. You You can also choose to archive your category. So this is useful in a case where maybe you have a category that you only use at certain times of the year, so maybe Christmas themed or school themed, and you don't need it during the school holidays. You can archive that content so that it frees up a bit of space, but you can easily turn it back on when you need it again. So it's not deleted, it's just hidden from your main view, so only visible in edit mode. For phrases, there's a few more things you can do. So you can choose to add a spoken phrase and a display phrase. So these can be different to each other, so that what you see when you're looking at your categories can have simpler names, so you can more easily identify a phrase, but then you might attach a really long phrase to something that wouldn't be useful to use as your display. So you can have those be slightly different. You can choose to add an image in exactly the same way as the category. So all of the same options are there, taking a photo, drawing, etc. You can also add audio. So you can record that audio. You can choose to use text to speech, which is the default, or you can choose from our small selection of sounds. In additional options, you're able to enter a web link. So this will take you outside of the app when you press the phrase. But can be fun if you want to attach a YouTube video or a certain web page to refer to, things like that. You can also choose to link to another category. So, for example, if you had a phrase that said, "I would like to eat" or "I'm hungry," you can then link that automatically to a category that's full of different types of your favourite foods, so that you can then describe what you want to eat really easily without having to use more clicks to get to that category. You can also choose to add any phrase to your favourites category, and again you can archive the content from here. The other option to edit in Grid is to rearrange. So you can rearrange at any level, just make sure you're within that category before pressing edit mode, and then you just tap on the items on screen in the order that you would like to arrange them and press save, and it will rearrange. So that's the Grid edit mode. Next I'll go into the settings. Okay, so entering settings, there is quite a lot to go through here. So over the years of Predictable, we've been suggested so many things, people have requested so much, that the settings, there's a lot to get through. But not all of it will be relevant to you. But the aim with Predictable is always that if there's something you need or something you would like to do with it, hopefully we have that available. So that's where those one-to-one sessions that you can book in for become really useful. So in case you're looking at settings and you're completely overwhelmed, you can describe to us what you would ideally like to do, and we can discuss the best options of how you can set that up. But I will go through every setting now. So in case you want the full training experience, just carry on listening, and I'll go through everything step by step. So the account section of settings is mostly account type functions. So the typical ones you'd expect to see: change password, reset password, so if you've forgotten your password, delete your account, log out, and we also show the email that it's set up with in case you need to refer back to that. The next option is the account type. So this is chosen as you create your account, but can be changed here. So the main difference between cloud and offline is that cloud will sync your data between devices. So if you're logged on more than one device, and you speak something, that will appear on your history on your second device as well. If you make any changes to the settings, it will apply to both. And we also have that backup of your data on the cloud. So in case something goes wrong, we should be able to restore that data back to your account so you can use it. So that's any phrases, that's any changes to settings, any visual changes, things like that. So that's the pro of a cloud account. Offline account means that everything will be stored on your device. So if you're logged into two different devices and your account is offline, you'll have to make the changes on both, so nothing will carry across. And if something goes wrong with one of those devices, your data is lost. So phrases won't be able to be recovered, and any changes setup-wise that you've made on those devices will need to be done again. But some people prefer that for privacy reasons. So really, this is more of a preference thing. Next, you can choose your server location. So this is where you would like your data to be stored. So you can choose whether that's in the EU or the US. So wherever works best for you in your system. Privacy mode. So I showed you the feature key for that earlier. You can also turn that on from here. So again, that will turn off your word prediction learning, stop you saving your history, and turn off any online features. So yeah, if you care about privacy, that's a good one to have on. You can choose to stop saving your history separately from that, and you can also delete all your history if there's maybe getting a bit too much and you would just like to reset it. The next option is to disable settings. So in case maybe you're using an access method where it doesn't work in settings, so you don't want to get stuck in there if you're on your own, you can disable the settings button in gameplay so that you can't access it. To re-access it, you need to go back into your device settings, find the predictable section, and there'll be a force start settings toggle available, which you should turn on. You can then reopen predictable, you'll be taken straight to settings, you can make any changes, but then when you go to gameplay, if you don't turn back off disable settings, your settings icon won't be there still. So that's the way to get back into settings if you have disabled it from here. The reset options are so that you can reset your predictable account, so you can reset all of your settings, reset the grid content to default, you can clear the grid completely and start it from scratch, and the last option is to reset to default and start from those onboarding screens again, so in case you want the basic setup steps as well. Next is the web manager. So this is a website which you can log into with your predictable account, and you can edit most of your settings and your phrase bank there as well. So this can be useful if maybe you're an SLP and you are working with someone, you want to set up their grid, add in some more content, make some changes to their settings which they're asking for. Maybe there's an issue and they've accidentally turned on something, don't know how to get out of it, you can make that change remotely. So you don't need to wait until your next session if maybe that's not for a while. Equally, sometimes it's just easier to add a load of content from a website for a phrase bank. So maybe you want to bring in a load of images, things like that. So that can be something really good to look into. The next section of settings is speech. So this is where you can choose your voice. So we have a few different options. So standard voices. This is all of the device voices that will be available. So whether that's your iOS or Android device. And we also have online voices available. So this is our Google voices, but they do only work with an internet connection. So once you're offline, they will not work. The main use for these is if you just want a bit more flexibility, so you don't like any of the standard voices, or they provide access to some more languages. So some of the languages don't have device voices available, but they do have online voices available. For Acapella, Model Talker, Speak Unique, and the Voice Keeper, these are all voice banking services, and the setup is quite the same. So you go into the page, you enter your username and password, press download, and it will download your voices which you've created with them. You can then select it and use it within the app. The only thing that these often don't work with is sometimes they won't work with the speech rate and pitch adjustments, but we will let you know that through a snack bar. And also they don't work over calls and FaceTime. So I'll show you later, we allow you to set up a backup voice for calls so that you can use a standard voice that is still the right gender and applicable enough, but it won't be your voice banked voice. And that's an Apple limitation, so as soon as we're able to make that change, we will. Then 11 Labs, so this is slightly different. So 11 Labs are online voices, so voice banked voices, or they provide a variety of pre-made voices. So this is a paid option, but if you are a predictable user with MND, MSA or mouth cancer, you're able to get an 11 Labs voice for free. So you click here, you can request your 11 Labs code from us. We do need that to be via a healthcare professional. So that healthcare professional will have to apply on your behalf to confirm the diagnosis, and then we can send that code over. You can listen to some of the sample voices, so that's some of our members of our team who've created voices. They're really good. I can't tell the difference between my normal voice recordings and my 11 Labs voice. They're that natural. So it's really cool that we're able to give these out for free to those users. To use your 11 Labs voice, you need to go into your 11 Labs account. You can copy over an API key, paste that in here and press connect to my voices. You'll then automatically see a list of all of the voices available on your account, and you can choose it from there. You can select the model, so some voices are better with some models depending on language and things like that, so you can choose that here. And then there's a few other settings. Because 11 Labs are online voices, they're not able to be used offline. So we've tried to make as many changes with them predictable to make this behavior as little, as like least disturbing as possible. So for download grid, you're able to download all of the phrases in your grid so that you're able to use them with your 11 Labs voice offline. We also automatically download anything that you speak, so all of your history will be pre-downloaded in case you lose connection and you want to repeat yourself. You're also able to choose a backup online voice, so this can be useful if you randomly lose internet you're not expecting to. It means you're not left without a voice if you're not able to access settings and choose a different one. So you can choose a different voice banked voice, you can choose a standard voice, you can choose anything that you would like, and we'll automatically switch to this once you lose internet connection. So that's 11 Labs. Going into some of the other speech options, so you can alter the speaking rate and the speaking pitch to make it sound a little bit closer to how you would like. And then going into speak button behavior, this is how you can change the behavior of the speak button a little bit to customize it to how you would like. So the first option on this screen is to choose between speak or show. So speak will just speak out the text to speak voice. Show is where I showed you earlier, where it enlarges the text on screen, so it doesn't automatically speak it out. So if you'd rather that be your default communication type, you can choose that here. For speech interruption, so this is the behavior of the speak button once you've pressed it. So if I go back into the keyboard screen quickly and I type in some text, you can see
we've been together
that there was a pause button that displayed once I pressed speak. So that's because I currently have this set to pause. If I had it set to stop, that function when I pressed it would just stop the speech, so I wouldn't be able to restart it. I'd have to start from the beginning again. And the other option is non-stop speak. So in case you struggle with mistaps or like double taps, this can be good so that you don't automatically pause or stop your speech as soon as you've started it. So if that's a problem, that can be a nice option for you. The next three, so clear message window after speaking. So this will automatically delete your message window once you've spoken it out, so you don't have to press delete all every time. Speak after space will automatically speak once you press the space bar. So you don't have to press the speak button separately. And speak after sentence is much the same, but it will speak once you enter sentence ending punctuation. So a full stop, an exclamation mark, things like that. It will automatically speak out and you won't have to press the speak button. The next list of behavior is the functionality that you would like when the speak button is pressed. So speak all will speak out all available text in the message window. Speak last sentence will speak out the most recently typed sentence in the message window. Speak unspoken text will speak anything that hasn't previously been spoken out. Speak by paragraph will speak paragraph by paragraph, so it will speak one paragraph, pause, and then you can choose to speak the next one. Speak by sentence is the same but with sentences. Speak after cursor will speak anything in the message window after the point that your cursor is currently at when you press the speak button. Speak before cursor is the opposite, so anything before the cursor. And speak current sentence will speak out the sentence which the cursor is currently in the middle of. The message window options are, so this is if you decide to turn your message window into the speak button. So by tapping on the message window, you want it to speak. So that can be nice because it's a larger area, larger target area for you to hit. So if I turn this on, you can see much of the same edits are able to be made here as with the speak button behavior. The main difference is that because you're using that message window tap to speak, none of the cursor functions are available because you're not able to move that cursor manually. So that's the only thing that's different here. There are a few grid speech options, so you can choose not to send your phrases to message window. You can choose whether or not you want your phrases and categories to speak on tap or only once they've been sent to message window and spoken. Custom pronunciation is quite a nice option, especially if you're using standard voices. Sometimes they pronounce names wrong or pronounce certain things differently than you would. So here you can enter the word name that it's pronouncing incorrectly, and then you can add a phonetic pronunciation to correct it. So you can use the play buttons here to listen to that back until it gets it completely right. And then if you save it, it will automatically change how that is sent to the text-to-speech engine whenever you type that word. So you don't need to type in the phonetic pronunciation in the message window. You just type it in normally and it will be fixed. Abbreviation expansion can help to speed up your typing. So you can add in any abbreviations. This example is BTW. So if you type in BTW after saving this in the message window and then press space, it will automatically expand to by the way. So you can set up as many as you would like for these, and it can just help speed that process up. The next section is accessibility. So I'll talk through each access method so that you can understand what you can edit there. So direct touch is what I've just been using, but there are two changes that you can make here. So time delay will mean that you have to hold a button down for a selected duration before the action's triggered. So it's called time delay. A timer will appear on screen to let you know how long you have to hold it down. So this is quite good for mishits. So it ensures that you have the intention of pressing the button that you're holding. Force delay is a bit different. So with force delay, after you first tap, the screen will pause. So this is useful if you have maybe struggle with tremors or something like that, or accuracy, so that your first tap is what's taken and that everything after that will be discarded. So again, this has a timer to let you know when you can tap the next button. So screen tap uses a scanning method to work through the screen. So automatic will use a timer to scan through, so it will move between the scanning sections depending on the scanning rate which you've set up. And then you press anywhere on the screen to select down to the item which you want to select. If you have the ability, manual can be a little bit faster as it doesn't depend on the timer. So the screen is split into two and you can choose one side which you can tap for progression and one side to tap for selection. So that's screen tap. Switch access is much the same. So it's the same scanning pattern except you use an external switch to progress and select. So again, you can do it automatically with that timer, or you can do it manually with two switches to speed up a little bit. Head tracking. So head tracking allows you to control the screen using your face movements. So you can see on screen right now, there's a mesh over my face. It's tracking my movements already, and I haven't done any form of calibration. So that's the nice thing about head tracking. It requires no external hardware, so it just uses the iPad camera. And there's no customization really needed. The head sensitivity and head position options that you can see are just for like really improved accuracy. It should just work out of the box as soon as you turn it on. So I'll give you a quick demo in a minute, but some of the available options are customizing the pointer, so you can change the color and things like that. And you can also choose the selection trigger. So I'm going to choose to use blink, but there's loads of facial gestures which you can choose from. You can choose dwell, so whatever works best for you. The head tracking game allows you to practice a little bit. So practice the movements, because it is a bit unnatural, especially if you've used eye tracking before. It's a bit of a learning curve to realise that you need to move your whole head. So the way I like to think about it is as if my nose is controlling the pointer. So then following it around on screen. So if I turn that on, I can clear my message window, and you can see whenever I'm blinking, I'm selecting the item on screen. And I can improve this accuracy even more if I use that head position, head sensitivity feature. But this is already how accurate it is just out of the box. So with doing none of that. So that's head tracking. Eye tracking isn't built into Predictable in Predictable 7, but you are able to use any external eye tracker that works on an iOS device, or the iOS 18 eye tracking. So in order to use that, you just go into settings, accessibility, and you can turn on eye tracking. So in iOS 18, this is at the top level. So if I turn on eye tracking, I need to center my face. And then I can calibrate it. So now I have eye tracking on. Again, it's a bit of an adjustment once you have come out of head tracking to realise that you don't move your whole face. So again, this is just using the iOS camera. This is the iOS global eye tracking. Again, there's more calibration setup you can do, which I haven't done, so it can be more accurate and easy to use than this, but you can see that I'm quite easily able to access anything on screen. Let me just turn that off. And I will talk you through the next. Access method. So the last option is scanning build your own. So this allows you to combine a load of the previous options. So it's a scanning method, but you can choose for progression and selection any of the above options. So you can use screen tap, you can use a switch, you can use the facial gestures, you can use a timer, and you can completely customize that for each one. So in case there's only one gesture you can do reliably and you don't have the control of your head to use head tracking, you can use a scanning pattern and a gesture to select. So it's quite a nice option for someone that the other options don't quite work, so to really customize something to the person. Some of the other options in accessibility, so these toggles are related to the access methods above. So quick exit is that little X button which allows you to easily exit an access method. So in case you're trying something out, you get stuck or you accidentally turn one on, that can be quite nice. The pause cursor is for head tracking, so that allows you to have a little break. So in case you're looking away from the screen, you're not accidentally triggering buttons. The head tracking toggle is the same as that feature key I was talking about earlier. So this allows you to switch between your global iOS head tracking and the predictable head tracking. And then message window scroll allows you to lock the scrolling of the message window so that there are just buttons instead, so that you can manually scroll rather than using the gesture on screen. Auditory preview allows you to allow the text on screen to be read out. So a long press on any selected text will speak that text out, and a single tap will still select it. So in case maybe you have vision issues or you want to confirm that you're pressing on the right thing, auditory preview can be quite nice. You can choose a different voice to your standard text to speak voice for this, so that people know when you're speaking and when you're not. Floor hold is the feature key that I was talking about earlier. So with messages like please bear with me while I use predictable to speak. And this is where you can turn on the automatic floor hold. So you can set the duration of how long you need to be typing for before it automatically reads out one of those phrases. You can edit your phrases from here. So you can tap on one to delete it, and you can tap to add a new one from here, so then it will just recycle through any of those phrases. So if you just want one to be read out all the time, delete off all the others and just leave one there, and it will repeat that same one every time. Call and FaceTime, so this is where you can add your contact list. So you just press to add new, enter the name, email address and number, and then when you have them appeared there, you can choose whether you want to display your contact list when you press that feature key, or whether you just want it to call your starred contact, which you can choose. So they're the main options here. Next is appearance. So templates, there are a load more of those than was available on the onboarding screen. So visual templates, some of them set up features as well. So they can be nice to go through if you would like to change the appearance at all. Color and font size allows you to sort of edit things a bit more freely. So you can change the color and font of any of these sections on screen. So if I wanted to change my favorites background color to be pink instead of blue, I can do that from here. Going back to appearance, I can also change the font globally. So we have a few different fonts available here to do that with. So if I switch to Montserrat, for example, you can see everything is switched over. Dexterity position is quite nice if you're left-handed, so it will automatically switch some elements of the screen over to the left side. So mainly the feature keys, it will switch over to the left for easier access to those main important buttons. Skin tone will change the colour of your symbols in your grid. So this can just be a nice customization option. And the show hide history favorite strip will show or hide the bar at the top of the keyboard screen. So it's good to note this is here. This is one that people often accidentally turn off with different templates, don't know how to get back. So this is quite nice to know that it's under appearance. And home screen, so this is the same thing that you set up in the onboarding journey, so that can be edited from here. Going into keyboard options, so there's the standard QWERTY keyboard. The ABC keyboard will just arrange those letters alphabetically instead. High frequency will arrange the letters by the frequency of use within the English language. The quick keyboard allows for larger targets, so you press on a group of letters to narrow down to a single letter instead. So it can be useful for something like head tracking, eye tracking if you don't have the accuracy to use the QWERTY keyboard. The native keyboard allows you to use the standard iOS or Android keyboard. so in case that's something that you prefer. Handwriting allows you to use the keyboard in the same way as I showed you in the feature key earlier. And the alphabet board is another different layout, so this is something that was requested by an SLP that was beta testing for us. So it's a layout that she commonly uses for non-digital options. So if you have someone using that paper-based option, to then be able to carry it across to a digital format, so there's not so much of a learning curve in that transition. You can also choose to use an external Bluetooth keyboard for writing if that is what you prefer. And here is where you can manage the emojis. So you can add different sounds, add different audios, really do whatever you would like with them. For word prediction, you're able to choose between a British and American dictionary for English. So that will affect the spelling of the word prediction and things like that, as well as the spell check autocorrect functions. So if you're getting spell check messages for things that are spelt correctly in British English, it might be because you have the American dictionary chosen here. So there's slight differences between spell check and autocorrect. So I'll demonstrate them all. So if I type something in wrong, so if I misspell high and then I press space, you can see that spell check will automatically highlight that in orange to let me know that it's spelt wrong, but it won't correct it. I'll have to go back and edit it myself. If I do the same thing for autocorrect, so I type in H-I-J and then a space, you can see that it autocorrects that to high. So that's the slight difference between those two. Autocomplete is slightly different. So if I start typing in hello, you can see that it will it will add the first word prediction suggestion in the message window, and if I press space, it will autocomplete to that. So that can be a quicker way to access those word prediction options. Under prediction choice, you can choose how many word prediction options you can see on screen at once. We set this by default to 3 because we've looked at the analytics. People often choose the first and second word prediction options. Rarely do people pick the 4th and 5th. So it can just reduce some of that clutter on screen by just having 3 rather than 5. You can choose the size of the word prediction strip. So you can have that the regular size, or large will just make it taller so that there's more room for words. You can edit the learning. So you can choose to turn the learning off. You can reset the learning, and you can also manage any self-learn words. So any words that it has learnt from you, if it's learnt something wrong, you can come here and delete it. You can add any new words, so in case there's names and things like that. So that's where you can edit that from. And then you can choose to restrict or allow profanity. Next is symbols. So you can choose to turn on the symbol prediction in your message window strip. You can turn on symbols in your history strip, in your favorite strip, in your message window. So you can choose how many or how little you want of those. And you can also choose whether you would like to have a large word prediction size to make room for those symbols to be a bit larger. You can also add custom symbols. So in case something is coming up and that symbol doesn't really resonate with you, it's not working, you can edit that to be something else for a certain word. Or a more fun way to use it is you could add an image of yourself for your name so that it shows an image of you, or anything like that that you would like to do. Grid layout allows you to customize your grid in a bit more detail, so you can choose the number of rows and columns available. You can edit visually, so you can change the background color of your categories and your phrases. There are 2 options for displaying the grid. So the full screen is what I went through earlier, but you can also choose for it to replace your keyboard. So from the keyboard screen, if you were to press grid, it would show in this view rather than taking you to a whole new page. So it can be a little bit less of an interruption
Healthcare
by having it in this view. You can also choose the position of your category and phrase content, so whether you want icons and text to show and whether you want those in which order. You can choose to get rid of the grid message window altogether. If you're speaking phrases and categories on tap, you might not need it. You can change the appearance of the feature keys, so in case you don't like the yellow. And you can also lock the scrolling. So in case you're accidentally scrolling your grid quite a lot, you can lock that so that it won't happen and just use the up and down arrow keys instead. Shortcuts is a really good part of settings because this allows you to edit all of those feature keys that I went through earlier. So if I press on edit feature keys, you can see that this is a mock-up of the keyboard screen. If I press into one of these feature keys, I can choose from any of them to replace it to from this drop down. And I can also change the background and icon color from here. You can also choose to turn on your feature key titles. So this can be useful if you're new to Predictable and you haven't learnt the icons yet. It just adds a bit more information so that you can begin to learn where to press for what feature. Gesture Speak allows you to access any of those feature key actions or particular phrases by performing a gesture. So you don't need head tracking on to use this. You can use it with any access method. So I could set myself, for example, to perform a bell sound when I puffed my cheeks. So if I wanted that to display a bell, I could set that up here. Hot corners is much the same. So you can choose any of those feature key actions or any phrase to assign to a corner of the screen. So this will use the head tracking camera. You can use it at the same time as head tracking, or you don't need head tracking at all on to use this. So I could be using it with direct touch. And then whenever my head tracking cursor would go to a corner of the screen, so for example the top left corner, I could assign any action to be done there. So again, I could choose bell for the top left corner. Keyboard shortcuts, so this allows you to do any of those same actions but with an external Bluetooth keyboard. Next is multi-language, so this is one of my favourite parts of Predictable. So really nice if you speak more than one language and you switch between them regularly. You can choose to set up your secondary language. So if I choose Spanish, for example, and press set as secondary, it will start downloading that dictionary for me and let me know when it's done. And then I'll be able to choose my voice, my keyboard, and how I want the grid behavior to be. To set it up in a little bit more detail, so I'll show you that as well. So this says it may take 2 to 5 minutes. If your internet connection is not completely awful, it should take significantly less than that. So you can see that it's almost done for me. Okay. And then I'm taken to this screen where I can edit some of those settings. So I can choose to change my voice for the secondary language, so between any Spanish voices. I can choose any of the keyboards which are available for that language. It will tell me what word prediction is available, so whether that's offline or online word prediction available. And I can choose whether I want to replace my grid in Spanish or add to it. So you can only have one grid set up, which will be used across both languages. So you can choose whether you want that just to be used in English, just to be used in Spanish, or you can have English followed by Spanish within your grid. So if I add to my grid, that will be both. So I'll choose to add Spanish to my grid, enter my password, and this will add the Spanish version of the default grid. So if you've added any custom phrases in English, those won't be translated over, you'd have to add them separately. But in terms of the default Predictable grid, this will add on the Spanish version. So if I go back to the keyboard screen, you can see that the speak button has automatically been split into two. So now there's a multi-language key on the right side of that. Again, you can change this in settings to be anywhere really that you would like, but we just add it there so that people can see it straight away once they've set it up. So you can see that I'm now set up in Spanish. If I go to my grid, the English grid is available first, and then the Spanish. And then my keyboard and voice and my word prediction.
Tenga paciencia conmigo mientras uso predictable para hablar.
Sorry, that's because I had automatic floor hold turned on.
Tú puedes decir.
So I can speak in Spanish using my Spanish word prediction. If I press that multi-language button, it will automatically change me over to English. So the keyboard, word prediction and voice are all now in English. So it's just one button to switch between, which is really cool. Online features. So some of the features within Predictable use external APIs, so they cost us per use. So for this reason, we've allowed a daily usage per user. So this resets every day. So if you use up your quota, it's not forever, it will reset the next day. So this is for anything that uses an online external system. So things like ChatGPT, the online image search, and online word prediction and online voices. So from here, you're able to turn them off if you don't want to access any of these things for privacy reasons, and that is a password protected action. So you can't turn it on by mistake. So that's what you're available to do here. And you can also see how far through your daily quota you've used. So in case you just like to track that. Support and pro tips. So this is where you can access a load of our support resources. So FAQs, user guides, video guides, and you can also book in for those one-to-one support sessions with us from here. Spread the word. So this is where we ask people to very kindly leave us a review or a rating on the App Store or Play Store. So this helps us massively, not only to be able to get in front of the eyes of more people, but mainly to let other users, people looking into Predictable, know how you use it, whether it's worked for you, how it's worked for you. Because if you were looking at the app and you saw that it worked for someone with the same needs as you, it can give you that confidence that it's likely to fit your needs as well. So that's a really lovely thing that you can do if you have the time. The last option in settings is research and contributors. So many people outside of the TherapyBox team helped us to develop the features of Predictable 7, whether that's through advice, whether that's through testing, feature ideas, partnerships, things like that. So we've listed them all here so you can see who's helped us out. You're also able to look at what publications and research papers Predictable has been used in case that's interesting to you. So that is a very in-depth but quite brief description of everything that you can do in Predictable. Again, if there's something that you're not sure about, if there's something you think I've missed, you can always set up one of those one-to-one support sessions with us. Or if something's going wrong with Predictable for you, set up one of those calls and we'll be happy to help. So I hope this was helpful. Again, get in touch if you have any other questions. Thank you.